In this video, I'm going to show you how to get started with doing a white box level layout in your first stages of doing level design. Hopefully, before you do this, you've come up with an idea, drawn it on a piece of graph paper or maybe digitally in a program so that you have an idea of what you're doing and you know the scale and size of that. But I'm going to show you some easy ways to get started with creating your first block-in with that. So I am using the third person map template in Unreal, but we don't want to start with the starter scene that it gives you. Instead, we're going to want to create our own scene. So first things first, let's make a couple folders in our content directory so that it'll make our lives a little bit easier. So I have let me delete this out real quick. I do have a materials folder. We're going to need that in a little bit. And we should go ahead and create a folder to hold our maps. So you can call it maps or scenes. I'm going to just go ahead and call it maps so that we'll be able to save our new map into there right away. So I'm going to go to File, New Level, and we're going to choose the basic level, not the open world. That's not what we're doing. We just want this basic one. And we're going to hit Create. Before we go any further, let's go ahead and do a file, save current level as, so we can save it into our maps directory. Give it a name. And this way, as we work, we can constantly, hit Control S to save as we go through so we don't lose any of our work. Okay, first things first, I am going to delete out this plane it starts with so that I can start with a nice fresh scene. I'm going to go ahead and in the outliner, I'm going to create a new folder that I'm just going to call like level design or white box or gray box or block out, whatever you want to call it. The idea is all the new stuff we're going to create for our first block-in is going to go in this level design folder. Everything we're making for this should not end up in our final product. This is just to kind of get us started. It's kind of like a first sketch that we can use or have other people use to create final assets for our environment. So everything that ends up in this folder should not end up in the final game because we're going to make, or you or someone else is going to make better versions of it eventually. But we do want to keep our outliner nice and clean. So the tool that I'm going to be using to create this is going to be the newer, I guess I should say, it's not too new now, but the modeling tools that they now have in Unreal. If you're familiar more with working in Unity, these modeling tools are very similar to working with ProBuilder. There are some nicer things about it. It's a little bit more robust than ProBuilder, but we'll be able to rough in our map pretty quick using these tools. So first things first, I do want to make sure that I have some of my stuff up here set correctly. It's always nice to make sure that we double check that the camera speed is what we want. But the one I'm definitely going to be looking at is what our snap is. Snapping is going to make our block-in go incredibly fast as long as we're doing it at the correct scale. So we don't want to snap to a grid of 1. What I'd recommend is snapping to a grid of 50 or a grid of 100. So a grid of 50 is half a meter and a grid of 100 is a meter. If you're doing really quick, larger block-ins, you can even go higher than that to really kind of push and pull and get stuff done quickly. But for now, I'm going to stick with 50. And I'm going to go ahead and create a box. So I'm going to just kind of drop it in. I'm going to make a couple changes though. I don't really need the height to be that full 1 meter. I'm probably going to drop it down to just half a meter. I don't really recommend doing your floors as just a plane. I'm always kind of sketchy about that because, I don't know if it's still the case, but I know back in the day, there was the possibility that you could fall through your floors if it was just a plane. So I just kind of have a habit of just double checking, making sure that we do, have a floor that we can walk on. The other benefit of keeping it as a box is if you are doing baked lighting, lighting won't pass through this, as a single plane, lighting will pass through, but when we use a box instead, the lighting will probably stay a little bit nicer. So I'm also going to make sure this is at the origin. And if I do know like the size, like if I do know I wanted like maybe like a 10 meter by 10 meter block, like I could always come in here and type that in, to that size. But if you're not sure, like that's fine too. But I'm going to just keep it at like this size. This is probably going to be fine for what I'm doing. And I do want to drop it down that 1/2 meter so that the center is right here. I'm going to put it in my level design folder. And we can see that the player is standing nicely right in the center of that. So if I hit play, I can see my player in there. And it is always going to be a good idea to constantly be checking and testing your layouts. It is going to be a lot easier for us to decide like that this is a little bit too small, a little bit too big. Like we could decide that, you know what, a 10 meter by 10 meter, that's not quite the right size. Instead, I'm going to make it be a little bit wider just a little bit wider. So we can do that easily by going down to model and doing a polygroup edit so that we can just select our sides. And, remember we have this snap. So if I want to make it a couple meters bigger, I can switch my snap to 100. So I'll snap by like meters. So I have 1 meter, 2 meter, maybe then over here, I'll grab that face, 1 meter, 2 meter, so that I made it 4 meters wider than it was. I'll hit accept and let's try again. And yeah, this feels closer to what I had envisioned, so I'm going to keep it at this size. I'm going to rename this too while I'm at it. I like to, even though this is going to be eventually deleted, replaced with something better. Oops, not floor 2. What am I doing? I like to know what things are so that I can find things a lot easier. It just takes a few moments to rename things, so it's worth your time to do that. Let's say though that I do want another floor. I know it is exactly this size or really close to the size. Rather than just creating a new box and trying to fit it in, I can just do a Control-C, Control-V to copy and paste. So I can just duplicate this and move it over. I'm going to pretend though that we do want like a little bit of like a hallway between there. So I'm going to keep like a little bit of a gap going, like a 3 meter gap between those floors. And I'm going to create a little hallway between the two. This one I will do by creating a box just to go through those steps again. So I'm going to click on the box. It does keep the size of your previous one. So I do want to keep the height a 1/2 meter, but I know that this is not correct. So if I'm not certain, I can always just drop it down to that meter by a meter. And let me actually switch this back to the 1/2 meter. This will be a little bit easier to place. We can, like, let's say we're trying to put this in the middle, but we're not quite sure where the middle is. It's a little bit, it's larger. Maybe we're kind of new or not super used to it. Something you can do if you, to be aware of is we can click, this upper right here, maximize or restore this viewport. We can switch to our other views. So we have like our back view, our right view, and our top view. I'm just going to click this button to maximize this one so that if we do need some help kind of positioning things, we can, it might be easier. I always forget what my shortcut keys are. There we go. It might be easier for some people in certain circumstances to switch it to some of these top viewports. We still can do our model polygroup edit. I'm going to select, I'm just clicking and dragging and selecting those so that I can pull those out. So we can model this way as well if this is easier for you. Might be, might not be. Don't forget we can always, switch to different sides. We can see. I generally don't work in this view, like the 4, I do like usually just picking one and then zooming in and then, you know, going back and picking one and zooming in if I need to. But yeah, we can work on all of our different viewports if we need to. So whatever you need in order to be able to see things better. So let's see. I think I've actually made this a little off. I think I need to pull it one more. Am I good? Let's see. I think I need to go one more on this side. So let me go into Poly Edit. Just grab this face and pull it out. And accept that. There we go. Right, so we're starting to get, you know, our floors in, and we're playing around, we're making sure that this feels good. And, you know, before we get too far, I actually do want to talk about putting materials on our objects. You can see as we kind of build with these models, as we squish and stretch things, it is messing up our UVs. And, you know, this is like that base texture, but we can see that even this, it's messing up our UVs. And I really don't want to spend a bunch of time fixing UVs on our layout that is not even going to be needed eventually, but we still want it to look nice. We want it to be visible, like readable. We want it to, you know, be appealing even for playtest, but we don't want to spend a lot of time doing that since we're trying to get through this real quick so that we can move on and do much more, you know, complex things or iterate on this. Like we want to be able to build it quick, test it, fix it, test it, fix it, test it. So I'm going to show you how to make a nice checker or grid type material for these where we don't need to worry about the unwraps. It'll just place it nicely on our block-ins, and we'll even be able to have some variation with that. So go to, well, let me save, Control S to save. Go to that materials folder that we created earlier, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to material and just regular material. I'm going to call this one white box underscore MAT for white box material. And this is just going to be a very plain kind of checkered board white sort of one. And we're going to eventually make some variations of that. And I got into here just by double clicking on it once I created it. So usually when we're in this screen and we're creating a base color, we're going to do like a texture on there to do our checkerboard. We start searching for, I'm just right clicking to pull this up, you know, texture. And usually we use just like this texture sample. That's the default one that if you're putting a texture on, you usually use. But we're going to be doing something a little bit different. So rather than texture sample, we're actually going to need to use the texture object. It works a little bit differently, and for what we're doing, we're going to need to use this. So for this texture object, rather than the default texture, there is this built-in default white grid that we're going to use. So I'm going to select that. And we can't just hook this directly into base color. It's not going to work the way that we need to. Instead, I'm going to right click and I'm going to start typing world aligned, and we're looking for world aligned texture, this node. And we're going to hook this one into this one and hook this one into this one. We're not quite done yet. I'm going to show you one more thing. What this is going to do is we're going to be able to basically bypass the need for UVs. It's kind of a bit of a cheat. Like this isn't something that I would recommend that you should never just do this with everything, like all your materials. You should do a good UV unwrap. You know, but for blocking stuff in, this is a really great way to ignore needing to fix UVs on all of that block in. The one thing we do need to fix is this texture size. By default, it tiles on a 64 by 64 by 64, but we're building this, you know, meter by meter by meter. So we do want to change this to be, you know, so it tiles, one of these is 1 meter. To do this, we can just put a constant, just a constant 1. So if we hold 1 on the keyboard, like hold it down and left mouse click, we'll create a constant. And we can give this a value of 100. And hook this into our texture size. This way it will tile, you know, 1 meter by 1 meter. So I want to show you what this looks like first. So let's save it. We're not going to, you know, I'm going to move it to my other screen because we're not quite done with it yet. But let me show you how this works now. So we can see it's all stretched. It's really small. This is really big. If we just drag and drop this on, we can see we get a nice meter by meter. I'm sorry. These are half a meter, but the full thing is a meter. So all of those squares are half a meter. So we can keep it nice and clean. And we don't have to worry about unwrapping. Let's say, can I just turn, nope, can't just turn that off. The lighting's bothering me. I'm going to turn off, we're going to turn off, maybe, can we just turn off the directional? No, that's too much. Skylight. Let's just turn that skylight off a little bit. That's fine, I'll keep it on. There's just a lot going on in this scene. I'm trying to just minimize it. Let's turn those clouds off. I think it's just the grid is right on top of it, so it's looking a little bit strange. If we were to move this up, I think it would look a little bit better. Yeah. Hold on a moment. Oh, I'm sorry. I know what I did. I guess this is kind of a good illustration of what this material is doing. I apologize. I put something on the wrong thing. We shouldn't be pulling the XY texture. We should be pulling the XYZ texture because we want all 3 axes. So let me save that. That's better. That's what I was looking for. Now we can see it really good. Okay, we do want to make a couple changes to the stow. The first is we want to make sure that our roughness is set to 1. We don't want it to have any kind of smooth, like shininess to it, since we are just kind of blocking this in. And it would be nice to have the ability to tint this colors. Having just a, you know, our block in just be this white checkerboard gets a little bit boring. It can be really hard to sometimes determine the shape of the environment, like when you're running through it. Generally, when I'm doing a block in, I like to have one color for like the floor and it like walkable surfaces, and then like a different color for vertical walls. And you can kind of color code places too if they're like special places. So it would be nice to be able to have some tints to this. The way that we do this is we have to actually put in a little something extra right here. So I'm going to kind of move this out of the way. I'm going to pull off of here and I'm going to look for a multiply node. So I'm going to start typing MULTI and grab this multiply. And then we're going to feed that back into base color. What we're going to put off of here is just going to be a RGB color. This works like a multiply, just like in Photoshop. So it's kind of, you know, taking this and then blending whatever color that we put in that. So if we hold 3 on the keyboard, I'm holding it down and left mouse button clicking in an empty space, it'll build us a constant 3, which is what we use for color. We could just feed this right into that B slot. So, you know, black multiplied on top is just going to give us black. But if we come over to the constant, we can, you know, give it a color. And it's just going to kind of, you know, tint it that color. So we can do pink, we could do blues, we can do whatever color that we want. But remember, this is our white box material. So we're kind of setting ourselves up for something really neat. But since we are just going to keep this one white, let's just keep this one white. We're going to stay white. What we're going to do is keep this as our master material, and we're going to create instances of this where we can just change our color tint. In order to do that, we need to select this node. I'm going to right click. I'm going to choose convert to parameter, and this will allow us to see this tint in our material instance. You'll see how this works once we kind of create one, but let's convert to parameter. And let's name this one tint, because that's exactly what it is. We need to make sure that we're naming these so that when we see them in another context, we know what that's supposed to be. So I'm going to click save, and we should be good to go then. So I'm going to close this. So I'm going to create my first tint. Like, let's create a gray color. So not just white, like a gray. So I'm going to right click. Actually, no, I'm going to right click on my white box matte. And up here it says create material instance. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to call this gray box underscore matte, or, you know, something to indicate that. And notice this one's called material. And now this one's called material instance. So let me double click this. And what we want to look for is right here, this global vector parameter value right here. If we turn that on, we can then change that. We don't need to open up our, you know, the big material thing, because the only thing we need to change is our tint. So, you know, we don't need to like rebuild that material again. We can just, you know, set it up this way, which is going to be a lot quicker. So I'm going to just give it like a gray color and click save. So now we have a gray version of it. I also like to, like, I can create a couple of these. The one, you know, in this, you know, you could think about what colors would work for you. I'm going to create an orange box material. And I'm going to tint this. I'm going to click the little box. I'm going to make it like an orange color. So now we can have a lot of control over this. So, you know, I don't need it right now, but like we could plop it on there and have it be a different color. But I'm going to actually put this on gray. I'm going to put these on gray. My walkables as gray. All right, let's start building some walls. So there's a couple different ways we could build walls. We could just make new blocks and build them. Maybe you want to do some extruding. What I'll do is for this one, we can extrude out walls, and the other ones I'll just build walls outright. So let me, I'm going to select this. I'm going to go to Model Polygroup Edit. I'm going to select this face, and we can do an extrude. And, you know, I have that snap, so it's easily going to snap to that. So, you know, do we want to keep it at this? Do we want to make it down to 10? That's kind of up to you. I'm kind of fine with this. See how it's snapping at the, so that's 1 meter, meter and a half, 2.5, maybe a 3 meter tall. Same thing over here. Let's extrude that one out. Just need it to be that. And I can extrude this one. So 1 meter, 2 meters, 3 meters, and maybe we're going to keep it at that. Maybe I'll do something different for the roof. And, you know, I can accept that. So, extruding can be a quick way. I would still not extrude out your whole map. You should still have like individual pieces kind of, you know, be it. Like, we shouldn't try to build the whole entire layout as one giant extrude. That's not a good practice. I'd still kind of block it in with your major pieces. But you could like extrude from those. Let's say we wanted to put different materials on here though. By default, we can't just like, you know, drag and drop that on there because it's going to apply it to the whole thing. What if we wanted to just put a different material on these walls? We could do that over here underneath, let's see, where is it? Attributes, right here. and we're going to do a paint maps. So this is kind of a little bit weird. I'm going to try my best to go through what this is. I'm sorry, not paint maps. Let's go. No, that's right. No, edit materials. I'm sorry. Not paint maps, edit materials. I'm going to kind of go through how to do this. It could be, I'm on the wrong object though. Hold on. Let's try that again. Select the object. Edit materials. So I'm going to kind of go through how to do this. Let me delete this off. It's a little bit weird how this works, so I'm going to try my best to explain. So what we need to do is we need to make an array of different materials that are going to be on this object. So I'm going to, put two different ones. I'm going to have this gray box on one, and then I'm going to have the orange material on a different part of it. So I need to select my faces that I want to put this on. There's a couple different ways that we can select. By default, it's brush, where we can just kind of, select different faces, that they're turning red. And then what we would do is what's selected, we're going to, under active material, switch it to that orange matte. And then we're going to do a assign active material to that, so that it will then assign it to what we have selected. So I'm going to then select these over here. And it might take a little getting used to. If you hold shift, that's kind of like a deselect. Like if you selected something you didn't mean to. So if I didn't mean to select this, I hold shift and drag, it'll deselect that. So we got that. I'm then going to make sure the orange matte is selected and assign that. And now our walls are that, and our floor stays that gray material. So I'm going to click accept. And we can move on. We could, again, rather than do that, we could come in here and we could just build extra blocks for our walls. So we could go to our create box, add one, and then just use our modeling tools to kind of block this in. So that would be then underneath model, polygroup edit. And again, having that snap is going to be key to making sure that this can get done quick. So I can easily pull these up. If you want to be super fancy, you could grab just this edge. So we have like that nice 45-degree angle. Since that's technically more correct, I don't know, it would fit a little bit nicer. Accept, and then just drag and drop the orange on there, since it's going to be the whole thing. I can then Control C, Control V to duplicate that and move it over here. And then just do a quick polygroup edit to fix this. Oops, grab that edge, move it over. This edge, move it over. Maybe I decide, you know what, I'm just going to extrude from here. So I could go back to extrude. We'll select that face and then do an extrude. Maybe, let me fix that a little bit. Let's go back to the top. If we get something confusing, we can always switch to our top view. Just top, right back, top, there we go. Like if we're uncertain where some of these should go, I can just highlight those and move them. Go back to here. Keep moving this out. Whoops, selection. There we go. And There's no necessary right or wrong way to do this. It's kind of like a comfort level. Part of it's a comfort level, part of it is, you know, what are you used to? But we should be able to get these done pretty quick. So let me finish this up. Do an extrude. Do another extrude. And I'll move that edge over to make that nice one. Okay. Whoops. That was strange. What just happened? I did not like that. Let me just fix it from here. Did you see that? That was very odd. Let me just extrude this then. That's why it's good not to build everything from a single mesh sometimes. You never know what's going to happen. Okay, let's go to a top view. I'll just highlight those vertices. Highlight those vertices. And we should be good to go. There we go. Let's do a quick walkthrough and see how this feels. Oh, that should work. I want to put a second story on here, just so that I can talk a little bit about lighting too. So I'm going to go ahead and select this floor, Control C, Control V, and just move this up, since I know that'll fit nicely. I can then also go ahead and select this wall, Control C, Control V. There we go. That should work. And I do want to make it so that I do have a stairwell going up. So I'm probably going to need to do some edits on this one. Oh, let me, hold on. I have a feeling it's going to be weird about something. Oh well, I'll try it. Model, polygroup. I bet it's going to change that down there. I bet these are linked. Oh, they are linked. Do you see that? Since I control copied and pasted it. That's fine. I'll just make a new wall down here. So good to know. If you do copy paste, it is kind of linked to the same, it's the same kind of instance, so be mindful of that. If you change one, it'll change the other. I think that's what was going on before. So let's just create a wall down here. You can very easily edit this though. There we go. And drop my orange on there. Okay, let's build a stairwell going up there. I do recommend utilizing the stairs that they give you. Stairs can be really tough. You don't want to make them too narrow. You know, I would recommend being mindful of changing some of, like, you know, the height and depth of some of those, so that you don't make stairs that are too steep to walk on. Let's see. Let's try what 20 stairs would look like. 20 is a little too tall. Let's do 18 stairs. 18's almost there. I might leave it at 18. That's pretty close. There's just a little bit of a lip. But we can make this wider. Let's make this like 3 meters wide. That'll look nice. Right about there. Maybe I'll make a new material for my stairs. So let's create a material instance, and I'm going to call this one blue box underscore mat. So I'm going to make a nice blue material for the stairs. That way, from a distance, it's very easy for me to read that this, specifically what this is. The language that you like, the color language you use would definitely be determined by like the lead level designer or like a lead designer or like an art director. There you go. Let's try it out. Ooh, did I forget to? Okay. I think I forgot to hit accept. I guess it took it anyway. So go up those stairs. We're up in our upstairs. Go back downstairs, and that's doing pretty good. Feels good. It's a nice width. Nice height. It's not too steep. So we can kind of come in and start blocking this in. Let's build a quick wall over here. And, I am being pretty, I'd say light with this. Like I'm not doing any like crazy shortcut keys. If you're into shortcut keys and you want to like, learn how to do that, that's great. This demo is more for people who are kind of really new to this stuff. Maybe they are not super comfortable with Unreal yet, and they're just trying to get their sea legs. Sometimes moving at a little bit slower of a pace can, make people more comfortable with, various tools. So as you get better, you would definitely, find more shortcut keys, more quicker ways to do things than what I'm doing them. But this is a great way to get started. So let me just extrude out. Extrude this. Extrude out. And extrude again. Let's cap this off. So we'll do another quick extrude. And then another extrude. We'll pull this all the way over. Set that. Okay. Double check. I always double check by playing through. There we go. I'll have to fix that hole right there, but that's fine. Feels good. Maybe this has like a nicer archway, and it's kind of meant to be that. So let's create a different shape. We can do like a cylinder. Let's see. Let's bump it up to, I like to do it nice numbers, so I do want to do at least a 24. I'm not quite sure what my height is yet, though. Let's do, well, let's rotate it for one thing. Let's rotate it this way. There we go. Let's move it closer into position so we'll be able to see it a little bit better. And we can bump up that radius. Whoa. I think it needs to be about 200. I think that's when I made this. Let's see. Yeah, that'll work. We'll make it a little bit taller though. No, this will be good. We'll make it like here. Yeah, a little bit taller. Level design is definitely a little bit of kind of going back and forth. Like you kind of see how things look based off your basic plan. And you kind of tweak as you go. Right, that'll do. We'll drop our orange on there. But you can see that we do have a problem where it is a little bit big. So let's go to our Xform. I'm sorry, our models. Oh, not polygroup edit. Let's do a plane cut. And we don't want it there. We want the plane cut to be there. Correct. Yes, that looks right. I'll click accept, and now we have our nice little cap. You know, I'm probably gonna have to make this smaller. Let me go now to polygroup edit, and I can just push that in. Right. This wall, I think I can just make thicker. Remember, we're not keeping any of this, so we can, you know, tweak things as we see fit. I don't like this. Okay. Let's drop this one down. I don't like it like that. Let's go to poly edit. Gotta actually push these all down. I made it, you know, this is why we iterate slowly. We don't try to do too many details too fast, because if we change our mind later on, we can easily do that. So I'm just going to select those then and extrude them up. So that here, I'm going to extrude that. I don't actually need to, I can just, no, I do, since it's pulling that one. Extrude to that wall. Let's see how this feels. There we go. Being all fancy, okay. I think the last little bit is capping this off and then putting a roof on there. So I can just go ahead and polygroup edit this and do another extrude over to there. I'm just going to select this floor, Control C, Control V to move it up. Same thing with this floor, Control C, Control V. Don't do a Control D to duplicate it because it will offset it, and we don't want to do any offsets. Maybe we keep this open. Maybe there's like a skylight up there, so it looks like that. But we're running into problems now. Actually, yeah, let's build a quick skylight. I'm actually going to create a new box. Let's come in and edit this real quick. Group edit. One of the nice things I really enjoy about level design is that it feels very creative in that we're kind of working at such a fundamental level of the space. Like, yeah, you have your layout, but you really start to form it visually and see, you know, you start to really get to see what it's going to be. And that's kind of it. I find it a lot of fun. Let's do that one. go to our poly edit, extrude, 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 and an extrude. We're kind of just building like a little skylight up there. Okay, extrude. And we'll cap it back around to there. I do want to close it off here. So I'll extrude that down. Same thing over here. We'll extrude that down. I guess that's fine. We don't need those little corners. Let's see. How's that looking? There we go. And yeah, okay. We'll keep it at that, but we're getting some nice fun light kind of coming in. Feels a little bit more realistic. But what do we do about it being dark in here? If we were to go hand this off to somebody to play, they're going to get really frustrated that they can't actually see much. Like we're going to, you know, we're getting some of it coming down from the top, but down here, we're not, you know, we can't see too much down here. And as we get further in, it's going to get a little bit dimmer. So let's just do some really basic lighting with this, and we'll probably be good to go then. So I'm going to go out of here, back to selection, and we're just going to do some real simple lights. So let me make sure all of my stuff is in my level design folder. And I'm going to make a new subfolder for just lighting, because this is probably not even going to be close to our final lighting. I might want to keep that directional light. Maybe I'll just move it up into this folder up here. Because we could start to tweak this, like maybe we want to take the intensity down. Like maybe it's not supposed to be so strong. Whoa, there we go. But we might want to start adding in some extra lights. Like for instance, we could come into here and go to lights and put like a spotlight, a point light in here to start to kind of illuminate this space. It's a little bit bright. Let's take it down. Maybe we also want to start adding some feel to the scene. Like we can do that by, you know, changing some of the color of this. Like maybe this is supposed to be more of like a fire, like a torch light or something like that. So we make it a little bit warmer. There's some torches down here. Control C, Control V to duplicate it. And remember, we are not using this as our final lighting. It's a good idea to put some lights in so we can start to feel the mood of it, but don't bank on this being even remotely close to your final lights. Maybe we'll add another point light up here. But maybe there's like a computer or some, like an LCD or something, so maybe it's more like a bluey. Kind of light, but we'll take it down. It's way too bright. It's just a little light. Kind of in that corner. These aren't really our final lights, even visually. What we really should make sure that we are doing is saving it. And I honestly just like to do a full build. You could just try building your lighting only, but we could try just build all. This might take a moment for you to do, depending on what you have going on. Okay. The lighting will look better. You can just build your lighting too. to be honest. But I'm paranoid sometimes and like just to rebuild everything while I'm at it. And I'm not too concerned about that. That's fine. So let's take kind of a look at our final walkthrough then. So we have our taller room. We have our brighter kind of torch lights back here. A little bit bright, but you know, for a quick demo, this is fine. And go up our stairs. And we have our purplish light over here. Maybe there's like a crystal or something fancy, like a pickup. And yeah, we have a quick little layout. This would be what we would pass on. We would make sure to put some gameplay elements in here. We'd have lots of people play this to see how it feels. Is this too big? Is it too small for what it's supposed to be? And if we are, you know, at this stage, it's super easy to come in here and like push and pull our walls to fix it. And once we are satisfied, we could even export this stuff out for building more unique and more detailed meshes over in like Maya or Blender or wherever, create some better materials. But hopefully this was helpful for you and you enjoy doing some little design yourself.